Hey guys, Macca here. Welcome to my top 10 games of 2013. It took a while to compile this list. There's a lot of great games that came out, but ultimately my top 10, I picked 10 unique games that really did something that set themselves apart from other games that come out all the time. And I'm going to go through the top 10 and talk about why each game is unique and why it made my list. Before we do that, I'm going to just mention some of the games that are honorable mentions but didn't quite make the list. Starting off, we have Thomas Was Alone. Now, this game did launch in 2012, but it didn't really catch any kind of traction until 2013, which is when it kind of got mainstream and a lot of people started playing it. I recommend this game. It's a short little game. It's an indie game you can get on Steam. I recommend it. Also, State of Decay, Charlie Murder, Dead Space 3. Those are all games I'd recommend you checking out, as well as Gone Home. And one game that didn't make the list just because I didn't get a chance to play it is The Last of Us. I've heard only great things about this game, and I assume if I were to be able to play it, it would have made it somewhere in my top 10. So now let's get started with the actual top 10 while we have some gameplay. Coming in at number 10 is Splinter Cell Blacklist. This game went back to its roots with the old school stealth gameplay, had great graphics, a well thought out single player campaign with well laid out levels. Multiplayer also made a return and was a lot more fun than some of the recent installments that I had played. I had a good time with this game, back to basics stealth game. There was only really one good stealth game that came out this year, and this was probably it, so that's why I'd recommend this game. Coming in at number 9 is Payday 2, and those who have played it obviously know it's far from flawless, but it was able to accomplish something that not a lot of games did this year, and I personally enjoyed a lot, and that was encourage cooperative play. So if you played single player when the game first came out, there were a lot of problems with the AI, but if you played online, it really encouraged you to use your teammates and think smart to accomplish the bank heist to the best of your ability. I thought it did a great job at that kind of co-op experience where you're working with a team to get towards a common goal, and that's why I enjoyed Payday 2. It's great fun online. There's a ton of support by the developers, constantly adding free content as well as some DLC there too. So that's why I'd recommend you check out Payday 2 if you're looking for an experience to play with some friends or meet some random people online. Coming in at number 8 is Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. And although this game might be a turnoff to some because it only lasts about 3 hours, it is able to accomplish some things that not a lot of games have done. It's able to tell a great story without using any actual language, and it's also able to capitalize on a control scheme that usually wouldn't work, but in this scenario works. It has a lot of simple puzzles and a lot of storytelling, but it's worth checking out for the story alone. That's why I'd recommend Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. For number 7, I chose the Stanley Parable, and I don't want to say too much about this game because the less you know going into it, the better it is. It's a narrative-driven storytelling game and not like anything you've ever played before. This is literally just worth experiencing for its great writing, great narration, and amazing humor. I definitely recommend the Stanley Parable if you're able to get your hands on it. It's available on Steam at any point. Coming in at number 6, I have Saints Row 4. And simply put, it's probably the best superhero game I've ever played. With the introduction of superpowers and the new altered world, as well as the futuristic type story, this game is great fun. It has great music, a new story, and obviously it's Saints Row, so it has an amazing sense of humor and self-awareness. So I'd recommend playing Saints Row if you were ever a Saints Row fan. It feels like Saints Row, but it has those superpowers which really bring a new, fresh spin on it, and it's so over the top, it's great. This one might bring up a little bit of controversy, but for number 5, I have Call of Duty Ghosts. And the reason behind this is because this is the first Call of Duty in probably 6 installments that I actually felt was refreshing to me, and I felt like it was a fun experience rather than the same game with extremely limited updates. I thought the single player was enjoyable, although not great, but I thought there were a lot of important changes done to the online multiplayer aspect of this game that made it more enjoyable for me than Black Ops 2, and some of the previous games. I thought there was a lot of reinvention. I thought the map design was absolutely phenomenal and had some of the best maps I've played in a Call of Duty in a very long time. I think this is a very good attempt at a Call of Duty game, and I think there was a lot of mixed reviews because I thought they might have changed it too much and got rid of some of the fans, but not enough for some of the reviewers to give it good scores. I'd recommend checking out Call of Duty Ghosts. I had a ton of fun with it online, and I'd honestly think it's a good game. Coming in at number 4, I have Metro Last Light, which may come as a surprise to some because I didn't necessarily give it the greatest review, but I think this game did a lot of things that not a lot of games were able to do or have ever really been able to do ever. The graphics are phenomenal, but most importantly, this game engages you in a world and creates an atmosphere that not a lot of games can do. Although the gunplay had a little bit of room for improvement and the gameplay was quite linear, this game really put you into the character's shoes and made you feel like you were part of a very rich environment and world. And for that, I put it at number 4 and definitely recommend that you try this game. For number 3 on the list, I chose Forza Motorsport 5. And when I reviewed it, I thought it was one of the best racing experiences I've ever had in my life, but also one of the biggest letdowns I've ever had in my life because of how the racing was implemented. Luckily for us, in December, they released an update which fixed most of the problems that I had with the game and its progression in terms of its credits and buying cars that you would like to drive. There's also a glitch that allows you to test drive any car, which is also helpful, and for that reason, I think Forza Motorsport is an amazing racing game. It's super fun. It might not be as realistic as Gran Turismo, but it is definitely the most fun and one of the most realistic games in terms of racing I have ever played. I've put like 50 hours into this game and still don't find it that boring, which is a big deal for someone like me, which is why I recommend Forza Motorsport 5 for any Xbox One owner, regardless of whether or not you're a racing fan. It is worth trying out. Coming in at number 2, I have BioShock Infinite. And there are two types of people in this world, those who love BioShock Infinite and those who think it's just a scam with an amazing story. So the combat does have a little bit to be desired, but the story on its own and how important the story is within the game, to me, overshadows some of the gunplay mechanics that I found not to be necessarily the greatest, but still up to par with most shooters. Now, with the inclusion of things like audio logs that help tie the story together, which I think are extremely important when playing the game, I think the game is an amazing game in terms of its storytelling, its emotions, and its ability to make you think about life, think about the game, and just tie everything together. Even with the inclusion of the Burial at Sea DLC that became available quite recently, this game is definitely worth playing, especially if you like a good story, you like to think about the story, get involved in a rich world. The game will give you 20 or more hours of enjoyment, and I definitely recommend BioShock Infinite, as long as you can overcome the fact that it might not necessarily be the greatest shooter you've ever played in terms of its gameplay. Ending off the list at number 1, it's none other than Grand Theft Auto 5. And when this game was reviewed, it was reviewed to be one of the best games of all time, although for some reason it didn't make a lot of the top games of 2013 lists for a lot of websites and a lot of personal people, for example on YouTube. Here's why it's number 1 on my list. Simply put, whether you enjoyed the game or not, the game is revolutionary. They created a world of Los Santos which is bigger and more in-depth than any other world in any other game ever made. The sheer amount of things that you can do in this game are astounding, and the story, characters, and heists are like nothing you've ever played before. And when you pair all of that with great graphics and a good soundtrack, you have one of the best games that I have ever played. There was times where I was 40 hours into the game and still experiencing things for the very first time. This is a game that I could not put down for almost 2 weeks and put probably 60 to 80 hours into without even realizing that I'd played it for that long. For that reason, I'm putting this game at my number 1 spot because it did things that no other games have ever done, and it raised the bar of what video games are and will be able to accomplish. For that reason, it's number 1. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my breakdown of my top 10 unique games of 2013. And I know for a fact there's going to be a ton of people who disagree or would have it in a different order or have games in there that I might have not even mentioned. And if you're one of those people, I hope you leave me a comment in the comments below and tell me what you think you would change if you had some input into the list. Tell me what games I forgot and what your number 1 game of 2013 is. I really look forward to reading all of your comments, maybe talking with some of you guys and discussing why or why not I chose certain games. Anyways, as always, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Those are the 3 things that help my channel grow and let me make videos for you guys. And hopefully, I see you next time. Peace.